Hey y'all, we are back at it again. Look, let's get into the artist way. We're back at it again. We are moving along. Um, you guys, we are moving along. So now we're gonna talk about the basic tools, okay? We're gonna talk about the basic tools. I'm gonna touch on what the basic tools are. This specific video is going to touch on the first basic tool that you would need as we go along this 12 weeks of reading the artist's way into our creative recovery. I'm so excited about that. So follow me along. Maybe you have the book, maybe you don't, but if not, just listen in, okay? And really listen in and take note if you need to, because this is going to help us along this journey. I urge you to go get the Artist Way book yourself so that you can follow along with us. And if by chance, you don't have it, then this is why I'm reading it out loud. Sometimes you get a better understanding of things when you read it on your own, because you can obtain what's being said a little bit differently. And sometimes I stumble with my words just a little bit. Like I said before, reading is not really my strongest suit out loud. So this is me pushing through, okay? But bear with me, and I promise you that I will do my best to deliver it accordingly so that you all can get all you can all you can get out of this specific experience, okay? Because this is an experience, okay? So without further ado, let's get into reading, okay? And it says, there are two pivotal tools in creative recovery: the morning pages and the artist date. Now, I'm a little bit familiar with both of them. As I stated before, started this journey of reading about 4 years ago, but I didn't go on to the next step. I started writing because I would write all the time anyway, but I didn't do morning pages like early in the morning right before I do whatever it is I'm doing, or a certain amount of pages. I would just write whatever I felt, did it, and I would call it a brain drain. And then artist dates, I would do little artist dates. I would, I didn't consider them to be. So it has a different dynamic when you start reading and you start correlating it with your creative recovery, and the spiritual awakening as you go along this journey of creative recovery, okay? So it says, a lasting creative awakening requires the consistent use of both. I like to introduce them both immediately and at a sufficient length to answer most of your questions. This chapter explains these tools carefully in depth. Please read it with special care and begin the immediate use of both, okay? So as soon as we read this, I want you to start. I want you to go for it. Even if you don't have the journal that comes with it, because there is a morning pages journal that comes with it. And just so you can see it for yourself, I have a journal that comes with it, and it's the morning pages journal. So there is a bundle that comes with this. There's a journal, there's a workbook, and there's this. I ended up getting the bundle. You totally don't have to. But I like to, share knowledge with people and share it's wealth, and just share. And sometimes break it down. I did start my morning pages. I definitely did. I did. So I'm here now to share this with you all. So let's get into it. Now, this chapter is a little bit extensive, so we're only going to touch on the morning pages aspect of the basic tools. But I can't wait until we unpack the artist date as well. So this is going to be the morning pages video. Okay, so we're going to be reading and we're going to give a few examples because there are many, many examples in here. And for the sake of time and the extent of the video, because I know that our attention span sometimes can be a little short. And honey, mine too sometimes. Well, no, I do pretty good. But just follow me, okay? So it says, the morning pages. In order to retrieve your creativity, you will need to find it. I'm going to read that one more time. In order to retrieve your creative recovery, you will need to find it. How many of us have lost our creative aspect of ourselves, our inner childlike self, our ability to freely flow without any interruption? I know I have, from time to time in this facet of my life now, especially with this new podcast that I'm doing, Her Diary Out Loud. This is literally right on time because I'm doing the book and I'm also challenging myself in a whole other creative light on top of my painting and stuff like that. And so I'm excited to do that because it allows me to dig a little deeper. So let me go. I'm just follow me, y'all, because I know how I can be. I can be a little, I'll stop talk. And I don't want the video to be super long, but I do want you guys to get the best of me out of this video, and the best out of this tool and this tool that I'm using to share with you all what the basic tools are, okay? Which is this book. I asked you to do this by an apparently pointless process I call the morning pages. You will do the pages daily through all the weeks of our course. Now the course is 12 weeks. I hope much longer, of course. I have been doing them for a decade now. I have students who have worked with them nearly that long and who would no more abandon them than breathing. Guinea, a writer-producer, credits the morning pages with inspiration for her recent screenplays and clarity in planning her network specials. I'm superstitious about them by now, she says. When I was editing my last special, I would get up at 5 a.m. to get them done before I went to work. What are morning pages? Put simply, the morning pages are 3 pages long of longhand writing, strictly stream of consciousness. Oh God, another morning. I have nothing to say. I need to wash the curtains. Did I get my laundry done yesterday? Blah, 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 blah. They might also more ingloriously be called brain drains, since that is one of their main functions. I have brain drains, okay, and I let it out. And sometimes I don't know what to say. And then, as I say, whatever I'm saying on that page, things begin to unfold further as I continue to just write whatever comes to mind. There is no wrong way to do morning pages. These daily morning meanderings are not meant to be art or even writing. I stress that point to reassure the non-writers working with this book. Writing is simply one of the tools. Pages are meant to be simply that. Pages are meant to be simply the act of moving the hand across the page and writing down whatever comes to mind. Nothing too petty, nothing too silly, nothing too stupid, nothing too weird is to be included. The morning pages are not supposed to sound smart, although sometimes they might. Nobody is allowed to read your morning pages except you. And you shouldn't even read them for yourself the first 8 weeks or so. Or write 3 pages in a spiral notebook. Or so. Just write 3 pages and stick them in the envelope, or write 3 pages in a spiral notebook and don't leaf back through. Just write 3 pages and write 3 more pages the next day and the next day and the next day after that. Okay? Although occasionally colorful, the morning pages are often negative, frequently fragmented, often self-pitying, repetitive, stilted, or babyish, angry, or bland, or even silly sounding. Good. It's supposed to sound like that, okay? For example, October 2nd, 1991. I'm up and I'm having a headache, and I've taken aspirin and I feel a little better, although shaky. I may have the flu after all. I'm getting to the bottom of a lot of unpacking, and still no teapot from Laura, whom I sorely am missing. What a heartbreak. You write what you feel. You write what's on your mind. All that angry, whiny, petty stuff that you write down in the morning stands between you and your creativity. Worrying about the job, the laundry, the funny knock at the car, the weird look in your lover's eye. This stuff eddies through our subconscious and muddies our days. Get it on the page. The morning pages are the primary tool of creative recovery. As Black artists, we tend to criticize ourselves mercilessly. Even if we look like functioning artists in the world, we feel we never do enough, and what we do isn't right. We are victims of our own internalized imperfections. No, we are victims of our own internalized perfectionists. A nasty internal and external critic, the censor, who resides in our left brain and keeps up the constant stream of subversive remarks that are often disguised as truth. The censor says wonderful things like, you call that writing? What a joke. You can't even punctuate. If you had done it by now, if you haven't done it by now, you'll never do it. You can't even spell. What makes you think you can be creative? And on and on. Your censor has so much to say. So your censor basically is the negative voice that says so much when you're trying to break through. Like, for example, I could stop reading, in this moment, and if I was writing in my morning pages or something like that, I could just be like, you can't even read out here trying to, saying so-and-so such and such. And it's not that I can't read. It's just that I know, and this doesn't even need to be explained. I do know that sometimes I get a little nervous reading in front of people. And this is just a fun fact about me. And I'm just sharing in light of the censor, just to show you what the censor can do along with the other examples in this book. Make this a rule. Always remember that your censor's negative opinions are not the truth. This takes practice. By spilling out of bed and straight into onto the page every morning, you learn to invade the censor, because there is no wrong way to write the morning pages. The censor's opinion doesn't count. Let your censor rattle on, and it will. Just keep your hand moving across the page. Write down the censor's thoughts. if you want to. Note how it loves to aim for your creative jugular. Make no mistake. The sensor is out to get you. It's a cunning foe. Every time you get smarter, so does it. So you wrote one good play. The sensor tells you that's all there is. So you drew your first sketch. The sensor says it's not Picasso. Think of your sensor as a cartoon serpent slithering around your creative Eden, hissing vile things to keep you off guard. If a serpent doesn't appeal to you, you might want to find a good cartoon image of your sensor, maybe the shark from Jaws, and put an X through it. Post it where you tend to write or on the inside cover of your notebook, just making the sensor into the nasty, clever little character that it is. Begins to pry loose some of its power over you and your creativity. More than one student has tacked up an unflattering picture of the parent reasonable for the sensor installation in his or her psyche and called that his or her sensor. The point is to stop taking the sensor as the voice of reason and learn how to hear it for the blocking device that it is. Morning pages will help you do this. Morning pages are non-negotiable, so there's a must. You must do morning pages. Never skip or skip on morning pages. Your mood doesn't matter. The rotten thing your sensor says doesn't matter. We have this idea that we need to be in the mood to write. We don't. Morning pages will teach you that your mood doesn't really matter. Some of the best creative work gets done on the days when you feel that everything you're doing is just plain junk. The morning pages will teach you to stop judging and just let yourself write. So what if you're tired, crabby, distracted, stressed, even? Your artist is a child and it needs to be fed. Morning pages feeds your artist child. So write your morning pages. 3 pages of whatever crosses your mind. That's all there is to it. If you can't think of anything to write, then write, I can't think of anything to write. Do this until you have filled 3 pages. Do anything until you have filled 3 pages. When people ask why do we write morning pages, I joke, to get to the other side. They think I'm kidding, but I'm not. Morning pages do get us to the other side of our fear, of our negativity, of our moods. Above all, they get us beyond our censor, beyond the reach of the censor's babble. We find our own quiet center, the place where we hear the still small voice that is at once our creators and our own. A word in order to hear about logic brain and artist brain. Logic brain is our brain of choice. In the Western Hemisphere, it is the categorical brain. It thinks in a neat, linear fashion. As a rule, logic brain perceives the world according to known categories. A horse is a certain combination of animal parts that makes up a horse. A fall forest is viewed as a series of colors that add up to fall forest. It looks at a fall forest and notes red, orange, yellow, green, gold. Logic brain Logic brain was and is our survival brain. It works on known principles. Anything known is perceived as wrong and possibly dangerous. Logic brain likes things to be neat, little soldiers marching in a straight line. Logic brain is the brain we usually listen to, especially when we are telling ourselves to be sensible. Logic brain is our censor, our second and third and fourth thoughts. Faced with an original sentence, phrase, paint, squiggle, it says, "What the hell is that? That's not right." Artist brain is our inventor, our child, our very own personal absent-minded professor. Artist brain says, "Hey, that is so neat." It puts odd things together. Boat equals wave and walker. It's like calling a speed GTO a wild animal. The black howling wolf pulled into the drive-in. Artist brain is our creative, holistic brain. It thinks in patterns and shadings. It sees a fall forest and thinks, "Wow, leaf, banquet, pretty, gold gilt, shimmery, earth skin, king's carpet." Artist brain is associative and free-willing. It makes new connections, yoking together images to invoke meaning, like the Norse myth calling a boat wave horse. In Star Wars, the name Skywalker is a lovely artist brain flash. Why all things logic brain, why all things logic brain and artist brain? Because the morning pages teach logic brain to stand aside and let artist brain play. I don't know about you, but I would much rather for artist brain to play. And, sometimes that could be diminished. It could be diminished early on by people that we love, ourselves through our censor, amongst other things. But this is why we are on the path to creative recovery, because we need to get to the root of that. And I don't mean no harm. I want my artist brain to run wild. I do. And it will. It sure will. The censor is the censor part of our leftover survival brain. It was the part in charge of deciding whether it was safe for us to leave the forest and go out into the meadow. Our censor scans our creative meadow for any dangerous beasties. Any original thought can look pretty dangerous to our censor. The only sentence paintings, sculptures, photographers it likes are the ones that it has seen many times before. Safe sentences, safe paintings, not exploratory blurts, swigglies, or jottings. Listen to your censor and it will tell you that everything original is wrong, dangerous, or rotten. Who wouldn't be blocked if every time you tiptoed into the open somebody, your censor, made fun of you? The morning pages will teach you to stop listening to the ridicule. They will allow you to detach from the negative censor, your negative censor. It may be useful for you to think of the morning pages as meditation. It may not be the practice of meditation you are used to or you are accustomed to. You may in fact not be accustomed to meditating at all. The pages may seem spiritual or even meditative, more like negative and materialistic, actually, but they are valid. They are a valid form of meditation that gives you insight and helps us effect change in our lives. Let's take a look of what we stand to gain by meditating. There are many ways of thinking about meditation. Scientists speak of it in terms of brain hemispheres and shutting techniques. We move from logic brain to artist brain, and from fast to slow, and from shallow to deep. Management consultants, in pursuit of corporate physical health, have learned to think of meditation primarily as stress management technique. Spiritual seekers choose to view the process as a gateway to God. Artists and creativity mavens approve of it as a conduit for higher creative insights. All of these notions are true as far as they go. They do not go far enough. Yes, we will alter our brain hemisphere, lower our stresses, discover an inner contact with a creative source, and have many creative insights. Yes, for any one of these reasons, the pursuit is a worthy one, even taken in combinations. However, they are still intellectual constructs for what is primarily an experience of wholeness, righteousness, and power. We meditate to discover our own identity, our right place in the scheme of the universe. Through meditation, we acquire and eventually acknowledge our connection to an inner power source that has the ability to transform our outer world. In other words, meditation gives us not only the light of insight, but also the power for expansive change. Insight in of itself is an intellectual comfort. Power in and itself is a blind force that can destroy as easily as build. It is only when we consciously learn to link power and light that we begin to feel our rightful identities as creative beings. The morning pages allows us to forge this link. They provide us with a spiritual ham radio set to contact the Creator within. For this reason, the morning pages are a spiritual practice. It is impossible to write morning pages for any extended period of time without coming into contact with an unexpected inner power. Although I used them for many years before I realized this, the pages are a pathway to a strong and clear sense of self. They are a trail that we follow. They are a trail that we follow into our own inner fear. They are a trail that we follow into our own interior, where we meet both our own creativity and our Creator. Morning pages map our own interior. Without them, our dreams may remain terra incognita. I know mine did. Using them, the light of insight is coupled with the power of expansive change. It is very difficult to complain about a situation morning after morning, month after month, without being moved to constructive action. The pages lead us out of despair and into undreamed of solutions. The first time I did morning pages, I was living in Teos, New Mexico. I had gone there to sort myself out into what I didn't know. I didn't know. For the third time in a row, I had a film scuttled due to studio politics. Such disasters are routines to screenwriters, but to me, they felt like miscarriages. Cumulatively, they were disastrous. I wanted to give the movies up. Movies have broken my heart. I didn't want any more brain children. I didn't want any more brain children to meet untimely deaths. I'd gone to New Mexico to mend my heart and to see what else, if anything, I might want to do. Living in a small abode house that looked north to Tails Mountain, I began a practice of writing morning pages. Nobody told me to do them. I had never heard of anybody doing them. I just got the insistent inner sense that I should do them, and so I did. I sat at a wooden table looking north to Taos Mountain, and I wrote. The morning pages were my pastime, something to do instead of staring at the mountain all the time. The mountain, a humpback marvel, different in every weather, raised more questions than I did. Wrapped in clouds one day, dark and wet the next day, the mountain dominated my view and my morning pages as well. What did it or anything mean? I asked page after page, morning after morning, no answer. And then one wet morning, a character named Johnny came scrolling into my pages without planning. I was writing a novel. The morning pages had shown me a way. Anyone who faithfully writes morning pages will be led to a connection with a source of wisdom within. When I am stuck with a painful situation or problem that I don't think I know how to handle, I will go to the pages and ask for guidance. I told y'all this was a little bit long. To do this, I write LJ as a shorthand for me, Little Julie. Then I ask my question. What should I tell them about this inner wisdom? Then I listen for a reply and write down too. Answer. You should tell them everyone has a direct dial to God. No one needs to go through an operator. Tell them to try this technique with a problem of their own. They will. Sometimes, as above, the answer may seem flippant or too simple. I have come to believe that seem is the operative word. Very often, When I act on the advice I have been given, it is exactly right. Far more right than something more complicated would have been. And so, for the record, I want to say pages are my way of meditating. I do them because they work. The final assurance, the morning pages will work for painters, for sculptors, for poets, for actors, for lawyers, for housewives, for anyone who wants to try anything new, anything creative. Don't think they are a tool for writers only. Hooey. These pages are not just intended for writers only. Lawyers who use them swear they have made them more effective in court. Dancers claim their balance improved, and not just emotionally. If anything, writers who have had a regrettable desire to write morning pages instead of just do them, may have the hardest time seeing their impact. What they are likely to see is that their other writing seems to suddenly be far more free and expansive and somehow easy to do. In short, no matter what your reservation or your occupation, morning pages will function for you. So you guys, morning pages is pretty much a release, and I would urge you to immediately use the morning pages to gather your thoughts, remove the censor so that you can freely create at a pure state in a pure place. And as we go on this journey, I can honestly say it can be challenging because even in my writing, I'm like, I don't know what to write. I don't know, because in my book the pages are so long. Like, let me just show you. Like, again, the pages are like so long and it's so close together. It's so much that I had to think of to even write. As if I don't have stuff on my mind. I do. But somehow you get blocked. I wish you could see. Yeah, okay, you can see a little better. You see, all of that is writing because the lines are so close. So it's like I got all of this space, and it's like, girl, you better write on. So I encourage you to do your morning pages. I pray that this has helped you in some way, because we're on our path to creative recovery, baby. And yes, we're going to be creating in a massive way, and we're going to be highly effective. And I can't wait to do it. I'm doing it now. I'm implementing it now. And so to see the fruits of our labor, I cannot wait. And in this is also helping me to be consistent. So if you struggle with consistency, this is the perfect exercise for you to do. Y'all, thank you guys for chatting it up with me, and let's artists weigh in together. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Have a blessed day. Peace.